I'm Christine Stavropoulos.
Και εγώ ο Νίκος Σαμίδης. Και αυτό είναι το Greek Podyssey, το podcast της Ομογένειας.
A podcast for Hellenes worldwide, sharing stories, culture, identity, laughs and a little bit of tsugrisma along the way.
Γιατί μπορεί να φύγαμε από την Ελλάδα, αλλά η Ελλάδα δεν έφυγε ποτέ από μας.
This podcast brought to you by Natasha Karamiho, your trusted legal voice in Greece for all your legal matters, and Helco Consulting, trusted services for all business and investments in Greece.
Welcome to another episode of the Greek Podyssey. We have a very emotive and serious topic to discuss today, leading up to the anniversary of the Pontian Genocide. With us, we have Dr Panagiotis Diamantis, who will talk us through, is an expert on the subject, and we will dive into how the world sees the genocide, who has recognized it, who has yet to recognize it, and it's our pleasure to welcome Panagiotis back to our program. Panagiotis, welcome.
Thank you for the invitation once again.
It's a pleasure having you. For Nico and I, and a lot of other people that have Pontian ancestry, it is a very painful topic, and it's good that we still remember every year on the 19th of May the atrocities that took place. Why don't you begin by giving us the background, and then we'll enter into our conversation.
Let's go to the period before World War I, before the genocide period. Look, the first Hellenes who settled in Pontus, on the shores of, starting off from Asia Minor, we're talking now well over 1000 BC. In Pontus, it's the 700s BC when colonists from the coasts of Asia Minor, so we're talking about across from the Greek islands today, especially from Miletos, which doesn't exist, it's just an archaeological site now, sent out colonists around to the Black Sea, effectively to open up trade routes. That's really how it started. Right through the Roman period, Alexander the Great's period, you name it, right through until the 20th century, there was a very strong Hellenic presence all around the shores of the Black Sea. This is why it's called Pontus. When they went there, it was originally called Oaxenos Pontus, the inhospitable sea, because the waters looked so dark compared to the blue of the Aegean. That's because of a lack of oxygen in the water, but that's technicalities. But in a master stroke, in my opinion, of propaganda, they turned it into Evxinos Pontus, or the friendly, the welcoming sea, because it became a land of opportunity. A lot of people made their fortunes there. So it continued to attract a lot of migrants from the main part of Greece. You've got to remember, what we call Pontus, that stretch of land, is about half the size of the Greek Republic today. So it's not a small space. It's a big, like a rectangle.
Yes.
It's this big curve underneath the Black Sea. Behind it, it's demarcated by the Pontic Alps, as it's known, the mountains, and then flowing down towards the sea. It was taken over in the 1460s. It was conquered in the 1460s by a group called the Ottomans and slowly Islamized. Big Armenian population there, small Assyrian population there. By the 1900s, you had a whole bunch of foreign consulates there. Like Trapezunda, the main city of Pontus, de facto capital of Pontus, had 7 foreign consulates.
And were Greeks still migrating and moving to
Very
that?
much so.
Yep.
Very much so. Particularly by that time, by the 1900s, the migration is very much from the inland and the highlands, the Armenian plateau, down towards the coast. One, the weather was nicer, and two, there was more opportunity because of trade. So we've all heard about the Silk Road. We all know the Silk Road. Trapezunda, Pontus was one of the exits, the end points coming from the east, or the beginning points heading the other way of the Silk Route. So this is why when you look at Pontian Foresies, the traditional, especially the women, not so much the men, there's a lot of silk. The outfits do not look like our tradition, the mainland outfits. They look more Eastern, and that's the influence of the East.
Since you touched on Foresies, talk us through the men's costume.
I'll say one thing about I'll finish with the women's with one point, and then go on to the men's. The women wrap around their waists, basically they cover their backsides, like literally a podia, a wraparound, which they call in Pontian still called the Lahore. Does that sound a bit familiar? Like a city in certain country?
Exactly.
That's where it's from.
Yes, really, yeah.
They would get the cotton from
There,
Lahore, what today's Pakistan, back then India, and the name stuck. Like Manchester stuck with tablecloths and bed sheets and things made in Manchester, the city, and
Very good.
the name just stuck. The men's, though, is far simpler. It's basically black, and it's very similar to other men's costumes worn throughout the Caucasus. Now, the Caucasus is that bit of land between the Caspian Sea and the Black Sea. So Armenia, Georgia, and the southern part of Russia, republics within Russia, such as Chechnya, Dagestan, and people who enjoy MMA will recognize these names because some of the best fighters are from there. Very black, very simple, very warlike, very practical. They're baggy, they're loose.
Looked powerful.
They're supposed to,
Yeah.
with the belts and the guns, replicas now, and the knives. But that's because in those days and in the areas where these traditional dresses were developed, this was, especially amongst the men, it was a very warlike environment.
And that's how the Pontian outfit
Was brought
to
mainland Greece.
Okay.
Yeah.
And let me ask you something.
Yes, ma'am.
What was the reason people moved from Greece mainland to Pontus?
From Greece mainland to Pontus was basically in antiquity. We're talking about 2 millennia ago. Later on, from inside the interior of Anatolia, they moved down up to Pontus
Yes,
for trade.
for trade.
jobs.
Okay.
Now, because of geography again, with the Alps cutting off what we call Pontus from the interior, it also cuts off the rainfall. So south of the Alps is quite dry. North of the Alps, it's like the western side of Greece. It's the greenest part of the country.
Yes.
All right. So tea flourishes, even today, tea flourishes there. Fudukia, hazelnuts.
Hazelnuts.
It's 70% of the world's production is from Pontus. Even today, you can buy Pontian hazelnuts here in the shops in Australia.
I didn't know that.
It was basically opportunity. Now, although I really should wrap up the early history,
Yes.
some of the most famous Pontians, the most famous one probably is the Eugenius of Sinope. All right.
What was he famous for?
He was the philosopher that would walk around looking for an honest man, holding up a lamp to people's faces in the middle of the day, and always walking away because he never found one. Or when Alexander went and visited him, it goes, "Wise one, what can I do for you?" "Oh, you can get out of my sunlight. I need a tan."
Oh, okay.
You know the famous
He was a cynic. He was
Topithari to Diogeni?
Yeah. He lived in a
He lived
in a clay pot.
In a clay pot.
Absolute poverty. He was one of the leaders of the cynical school of philosophy. You had Dion. Dion was a bishop, a metropolitan in the Orthodox Church, who, to try and save Constantinople, became a cardinal, converted to Catholicism, in the hope that the Catholics will come and help and save. Because he's now buried in Rome. This is 1400s. That's it.
Yep.
And in terms of within Greek circles, just to wrap this up, the Ypsilantis family,
Ypsilantis, yes.
who you would know from the War of Independence,
Exactly.
Alexandros.
Yes.
The Ypsilantis families were Pontians. They were born in Russia, but their ancestors had come from a little town called Ypsil in the mountains of Pontus, and that's why it's called Ypsil,
Yeah.
because it's really high up in the mountain.
Ypsil.
Ypsil.
Ypsila.
Ypsil.
Hence, Ypsilantis, someone from Ypsil.
Exactly.
So there's a long tradition of migration, long tradition of cultivating Hellenism. Let's bring it to the 20th century. The high school that was built, it's still a high school today. The same building is still used as a high school today.
Just to put in perspective, are we talking about
This
towards
is
the
1900s.
end? Towards the end of the Ottoman period?
Almost at the end. This is the first decade of the 1900s.
Yes.
All right. The Greek community funded it. It's 5 stories. It's still there, right on the waterfront. The basement was labs. They had Bunsen burners. They had all the stuff that we would consider in a school today, but they had it pre-1910, pre-World War One.
Quite progressive.
Very progressive, and also shows you the sort of money that was floating around the Greek community at the time. It was extremely wealthy. There were 5 banks in Trapezunda. 4 of them were owned by Greeks. The only one not owned by Greeks was the state bank, the Ottoman bank, the government bank.
And how was the situation then between the Greeks and the Ottomans?
As long as Greeks were seen as not getting involved in politics, everything was fine. When the War of Independence broke out, there were massacres and deportations.
All hell broke out. Yeah.
All right. And then you get to move now into pretty much the genocide period, so the second phase of our conversation. There's a new group re-emerged in the late 1800s, early 1900s. They didn't want to call themselves Osmanli or Ottomans. They go, we are Turkey.
They were the nationalists.
These are the ones who become the Kemalists
Kemal,
later.
yes.
Yeah. Now you've got to remember, for centuries, they call themselves Osmanli, the followers of Osman. Or Turkos was an insult, because Turkos is a Greek corruption of a Chinese expression. Because remember, the Turks are originally from Western China.
Yes.
And-
Mongolians.
Sorry?
Mongolian?
Cousins of the Mongols.
Cousins. Yeah.
Gee, we're going to get a lot of comments on this podcast when it.
Oh, that's
Well, this is-
history.
this is
that's,
history.
that's history.
The oldest Turkic inscription is from southern Mongolia,
Yes.
the
True.
Orkhon River.
Yeah.
It's 5th century, not BC AD. This is by the time that Alexander has come and gone, the Romans have come and gone. We're now into the beginning of the Byzantine period before we start getting Turkic inscriptions. Turkic, not Turkish, two different things.
Sorry, what's the difference?
Sorry?
Turkic and Turkish? Turkish is nowadays
Turkish is today's
okay.
language.
Yeah, gotcha.
These people cannot read it.
Yeah.
Unless you're trained in it. It looks like, to us, it just looks like a series of cuts on the stone.
Okay, gotcha.
Unless you can actually read and you understand the script,
Yeah.
you can't read it. But when you read it out, you can hear the Turkic influence.
Okay.
That it's the oldest inscriptions in Turkic. This is the area where Mongolia and China meet. So
Yep.
it's really the middle of Central Asia.
Yes.
Okay. Turkey, the Chinese phrase, I'm not going to butcher the Mandarin, literally translates as rebel slaves. These are the slaves who lived on the borders of the Chinese Empire who wouldn't stay still. So we'll get rid of them. They pushed them out.
So they left that region and
About the 6th century.
and
About
went
the
to
time as the Slavs started moving into the Balkans, these guys started moving westward away from what we call China. The Mongols didn't want them, so the Mongols pushed them on. They tried to go into India. The Indians pushed them out. Moved into Iran.
obviously they're not Chinese and
No.
they're not. Where did they originate from?
What we now call Central Asia. So the western part of China, the modern Chinese state,
Yes.
and getting into what is now Kazakhstan. So
Right.
that's the original Turkestan,
Yes. Turkestan, that's it.
the
Yeah.
land of the Turk.
Yes, yes.
That's what Turkestan literally means,
Mhm.
land of the Turk. And eventually they end up in the 11th century. So it took them about 500 years to come across.
Yeah.
They end up in what is now Anatolia.
Yeah.
All right. They go around the top of the Caspian Sea and they smash into Armenia.
Yeah.
1061, they take the Armenian capital at Ani, move into Anatolia, Cappadocia. 1071, we have the Battle of Manzikert, and then they set up their first Turkic state inside Anatolia.
So you're going to talk. Are you
Okay.
Are you going to talk us through the different genocides, the Assyrian, the Armenian?
They're all the
Pontus-
same.
Yeah.
I wanted to set up that background as to how this territory, which we now call Turkey, they call themselves Turkey, how it became Turkish.
Okay.
Right.
Until
Yes.
until 1071, there were no Turks in what we call Turkey. There were none.
1071. Okay.
So who was there then?
They were all Christian.
We're all
right?
Greek.
Around the
Most-
coast,
most
the,
of-
the- around the coast, the dominant element was
Was
Greek.
Greek.
Up on the highland plateau, mostly Armenians and Assyrians, especially getting down towards the Syria part. That's mostly Assyrians, Turabdin, that area. Different churches. I'm not going to get into that now because that's a whole conversation. By the time we get to the 1800s, there's this new Turkish nationalism starting up, based around the language. They have nothing else in common. Ethnically, they are very different
From each other?
from each other. What united them was the Turkish language and the Muslim religion, Islam. So they start developing a national identity around these two things.
Under the leadership of?
Ataturk, is
What
it?
we call the Young Turks.
Oh, the Young Turks.
Yeah. The
The nickname is the Young Turks, as opposed to the old Osmanli,
Yes.
the old Ottomans.
When did
They deliberately-
Kemal came after that?
Kemal was one of them,
Yes.
but very junior at first. Kemal only really starts coming up and after the World War One, the final collapse of the Ottoman Empire. That's when he rises.
So there was the
To the
collapse
top.
of the Ottoman Empire and then became the nationalistic period where they became very...
The nationalist period really starts about 1908.
Right.
When they have a coup, take over the government. This is led by three men, a guy called Talat, who we believe was Romani, and Enver Pasha, who was born in Central Asia and fleeing the Russian conquest moved to Turkey, what he called Turkey. and Jamal Pasha, who was probably the most Turk of the three. They ruled the empire they took the Ottoman Empire into the war. Hidden by the war is when the genocide starts.
Okay, we're talking now
1915.
14, 15. Okay. Just to keep the track.
Yeah, can
Just
you
to
keep
keep
It's
track
like
of
I'm
dates?
watching a movie.
I've jumped around a bit.
No,
And I
No, no,
shouldn't
no.
have.
Look, it's a huge topic.
It's a huge topic.
Talk
I'm
about
trying
it for
to
hours.
keep it quite dense and
Yes.
focused. So 1908, this group called the Young Turks takes over the government. A few years later,
Sorry, which government?
the Ottoman Empire.
Okay.
The Ottoman Empire. They
Okay.
become the government of the Ottoman Empire.
Okay.
Then they have problems amongst themselves, and the most extreme faction of them takes over. Right? They have their annual congress in 1910, because that's where the revolution started, in Thessaloniki. They decide on a list of things. This is all published in the Western newspapers, who had reporters there. And with hindsight, you can see that they had started planning what we would call genocide from 1910, if not earlier.
Yes.
Disarm them, take away their commerce, take away their money, take away their leadership, then start killing them.
And trying to take away their identity.
So that's where the bullying starts. They start bullying them before the events, the pressure.
The pressure had started right back at the beginning of the Ottoman Empire. If we want to go far enough back, the genocide, and my argument, goes right back to the Bedel Mazluma,
Okay.
the child tax of the Ottoman.
Yeah, it makes sense what you're saying.
And this is where I should pause and go to the definition. What is genocide? We've mentioned it a few times. You mentioned it. I've mentioned it. But what is it? There's one thing that your audience needs to remember. Number one, it's a crime. Number two, it's defined in law. It's not Panagiotis' opinion, Christina's opinion, Nico's opinion, any historian's opinion. It's a crime in law. Now, the key word in the definition, in the legal definition, if you Google legal definition of genocide, you'll find it in 2 seconds. It's the intent to destroy.
Yes.
Doesn't say anything about numbers. Doesn't say anything about...
Yeah, you don't consider it a genocide by how many people have been
Nope.
killed?
Absolutely
it's the
irrelevant.
intent.
The intent of the perpetrator. What does the perpetrator want to do? What do they want to achieve?
Ethnically cleanse, destroy.
Ethnic cleansing is not genocide. It's a separate issue.
No, but
The law says
do
destroy.
they want to ethnically cleanse the area by destroying the people?
The definition says destroy.
Yeah.
Now, any one of 5 acts is genocide if the intent is to destroy. The first one's obvious, killing. The second one starts getting a bit vague, which is conditions harmful to life.
Relocations and yeah.
Force change religion.
3, conditions to prevent life.
Yes.
Starvation, dehydration. Number 4 is very interesting, prevention of births. Keep in mind, intent to destroy. Doesn't say whether people die and that's automatically genocide. No. What is the intention? Is the intention to destroy a group? That's genocide. And the 5th one is the most interesting for me and the one I focused most of my time on, the forced removal of children. The other 4 involve killing. The other 4 involve death. That one doesn't.
But
Because they condition
Now,
the children.
as we know from the Jewish experience, from the Holocaust, Jewish children were killed. So why did Raphael Lemkin, the legal doctor of law, who came up with the idea in 1943
which idea?
of genocide?
Of the genocide?
He's the one who invented the word genocide.
Okay.
From the,
What's the etymology of that? Of
the Greek
word?
yenos,
Yenos.
related by birth,
Yes.
and the Latin side, to kill.
To kill.
He deliberately put those 2
Mhm.
words together. So genoktonia sounds like a Greek word to us,
Yes.
but it's a translation of this word.
Yes. And it makes more
In
sense
a
in Greek.
neologismos.
Yeah.
It's an English word that has come into Greek. It's not a Greek. It's not naturally a Greek word.
No, it's a combination.
Where did Lemkin come up with it? He was born in Poland. He was educated in Germany. Spent most of his life in the US, and this is where he started studying child removal as an act of genocide. Because if the group cannot renew itself, it will eventually die out.
You can apply that to various situations throughout history, even here in Australia.
And that's why Australia has not ratified the convention.
Yes, because when they forcibly removed children from their families,
Yep.
it was to cut off the genealogy.
Yep.
And in effect, it was a genocide.
It was.
And these children were put into white homes, taught to be white, taught to be totally reconditioned
to marry British, to marry
to
Europeans,
breed
to be-
out.
Literally, the
Yeah.
phrase was to breed out the black.
Exactly.
Quote. Not my words.
No, but that's exactly what it was.
It was. And he knew about this and he had studied this. And that's why he decided to study genocide, what he called genocide.
So the term genocide and as an idea and as a concept started from him.
Yeah, he's the first one to use that word.
Okay.
He's the father of genocide studies. He's the first one to study it from the point of view of what we call genocide studies.
Okay. Interesting.
How does it happen? How does it start? What happened? Not just the what happens. He was far more interested in how did it start? What brought people to the point where they thought that mass murder was a solution to social problems?
So let's move on to the Pontian
Now, let's
situation.
Not only Pontian,
And
the
Assyria,
Assyrian,
and,
Armenian.
Armenian, yes.
the Hellenic genocide starts really in the winter of 1913, 1914. And it starts around in Anatoliki Thrace, Eastern Thrace. On today's maps, you'll see it marked as European Turkey, particularly around the little slip of land, which is very strategic, called Gallipoli. I'll let that one sink in for the Australians.
Yes.
You know, any Australian listener will know exactly.
Yeah.
Now, Gallipoli, or Gallipoli to use its proper name, is Iomorphi Poli.
Yes. Kali is
Kali,
beauty.
the Olanda is beauty.
Poli, exactly.
But-
Kali, that's prosopon. We know about Kali.
And this was on the instructions of the Germans. They were terrified. They understood. Whoever controlled Gallipoli controls access to Constantinople, the Black Sea, and to Russia. So the first Greeks to be targeted, and Armenians, were the ones around Gallipoli.
Okay.
Then it spread down the coast. Fokia.
I went to Fokia.
Greek.
Greek word.
Fokia.
Fokia is a seal.
Fokia is.
Muganya.
Nya, which you've also been to, Aivali.
Yes.
That whole area. This was recorded particularly by French journalists at the time. This is before World War I's even started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you've already got the systematic targeting of Christians.
When it comes to investments and business opportunities, you need more than promises. You need experience that delivers. You need people you can trust. Helco Consulting provides strategic partnerships, clear methods, and services with a strong presence in Greece. Helco Consulting, your trusted consultants in Greece.
When legal matters affect your business or life, you need guidance you can trust. Natasha Karamihu provides expert legal advice, protecting your interests and navigating every challenge. Natasha Karamihu, your trusted legal voice in Greece.
So we are 13, 14.
Now we're into
whatever.
1914, the spring of
Yeah.
1914.
Okay.
By the time the war begins, we have 250,000 refugees in Greece.
Who were not wanted.
Well, that's a separate, wanted or not, that was a separate issue.
Yeah,
The
but they
fact
were
is,
Greeks
that's
going
the
back to
only
their own place they're not wanted.
That's the only place they could find safety. War begins. The Germans said, leave the Greeks alone because we want the Greeks to join our side in the war. Remember, World War I, who was the ruler of Greece? Constantinos, the king. Who was his wife? Sophia.
Sophia, yeah.
The wife,
yeah.
the sister of the Kaiser of Germany and the cousin-in-law of King George of England. Let's not go there.
So they thought the Greeks would be useful to side with.
Think
They
about the
needed the Greeks.
geography. Think about the geography. What would if Germany was controlled Greece? What would it give it access to? Suez Canal.
Yes.
All
Geographical.
You've
Yeah.
got to think about international politics like noughts and crosses.
There, here you go again. Geopolitical.
It's geopolitical.
Everything's geopolitical.
Yeah. Okay.
Even our previous discussion on Macedonia, when they're talking about history, it's all geopolitical.
It's all geopolitical. It's all about power.
Yeah.
People with power want to keep it. People without power want to get it. Simple.
Can I just go back a little bit? Were the Turks threatened by Greeks in Pontus? Did they think that the Greeks were more prosperous? What was their key motivator of wanting to kill and exterminate Greeks from the region?
Number one, and I mentioned it before with the banks, and it's mentioned in that Times report, Times London Times. The economic power of the Christians was a big problem for the Muslim government.
How? Why?
You run a government without money. You run a country without
Weren't they
money.
taxing them? Weren't they receiving money from
Sure.
the Yep,
That's not enough.
not enough. They wanted to own it.
Traditionally, in Muslim societies, the merchants were lower class.
So,
You're dealing with money. It's like you're dirty.
Yeah.
so basically, you have someone more powerful and with more
Prosperous.
influence and prosperous. than you.
Yep.
So you want to take him out
And you're a
of the
different
game.
religion. It was also
Religion was the excuse.
Yeah.
Let me
Always
make
is.
that very clear.
As it always is.
All right, let me make that very
In
clear.
all wars, it's the excuse, not the
Religion
reason.
is the excuse.
For every war. Yeah.
Okay, the genocide happened based on religion, for sure, but that was just an easy dividing line,
Yeah.
an easy way to get the Turks, the Kurds, the Arabs to attack the Armenians, the Assyrians, the Greeks. They're infidels, they're Gaur, they're Apisti.
Yes.
Kill them and you can have their cows, you can have their women, you can have whatever you want. Just kill them all. And it literally happened like that. More survived. So in Pontus during the war, you had two different sections of Pontus. You had Eastern Pontus, which was ruled by the Russians for a while until the Bolshevik Revolution. But Western Pontus, which remained in Ottoman hands, was decimated.
Do you know, my grandfather never wanted to go back. My grandmother did. My grandfather, it was just too painful. He just could not go back at all.
It wasn't really possible until the 90s.
I'm talking late, very late in life.
Yeah,
In their elderly.
1990s. It wasn't possible.
He was traumatized as a child at 15. I've said it before. The memories he had crossing over from Samsunda, making his way, took him 2 years to get to Greece, dodging Turks. And there were also good Turks that shielded him and
There were
protected them. A lot of them. Let's
because
not make the mistake of tarnishing every single person with the same brush. There were also very good Turks that he owed his life to, that protected him and helped him. And
I would say
took him.
Muslims rather than Turks.
Okay, whatever.
No, I'll explain why.
Are you ready to say that many Muslims helped a lot of?
Absolutely. That's
Yeah.
what, especially in the East.
Yeah.
We have mayors who were ordered to kill the local Christians, and they said no. They were punished for it. Many of them were murdered.
Yeah.
But we have mayors. We have government officials, names, dates, places. The Armenians have done a lot of research on this stuff.
Yes.
But when you look at these people who were rescued, you'll find a lot of them were actually by descent Greek or Armenian, who had been converted over time. Still in World War One. Okay, you've got a lot of, even today, you hear about, even in Greece or here in Sydney, they will mention places like Trapezunda, Kotiora, Samsunda. These are all in the east. Bolshevik Revolution happens. The Russians withdraw, have their civil war. Whatever happens, the Turks now Kemal's Turks. So now we're with the Kemalists.
So Kemal has grown up now and he's a
now
leader.
the leader.
And
this is
he's
why
revered.
this is why it's 19 May. 19 May is when he landed at Samsunda in Pontus and began the second phase of the genocide, essentially the final phase. Kemal, although he is revered, was not a Turk. And this is a big problem for
Wasn't he
Turks.
from Thessaloniki?
He was born there.
He was
born
born in a little village outside Thessaloniki in the Langadas district called the foundation stones of the family home are still there. His father was Albanian. His father was a tax collector, a low-level tax official. His mum was also from the Gorica district of what is now Albania, Vojvodina. I'm not sure about his father, Ali, but his mother was very fluent in Greek, spoke it like a native.
Yeah.
The suspicion is that her family were converts originally.
Okay.
We know she spoke Greek because when she was well into her old age in the 1920s, he would send her Greek prisoners of war, particularly from Thessaloniki. Ask her, do you know this house? Do you know this family in Thessaloniki? What's this shop like? She wanted news from her hometown, Thessaloniki, where she grew up.
Yes, right.
And she would speak in absolutely flawless Greek. So Kemal comes along, finishes the genocide, signs the agreement. End of October, once the catastrophe at Smyrni happens, the last regiments, the last units of the Greek army withdraw. He controls the mainland completely. This is now September of 1922. He issues an order. All non-Muslims are to leave Turkey. You have 1 month.
That's 22.
That's October of 1922.
Okay.
What did I just say? Who has to leave Turkey?
The non-Muslims.
All non-Muslims.
So a lot
Not
of them-
Greeks, not Armenians, nothing ethnic. Again,
Religion.
the easy division is religion.
Religion. Which is why a lot then converted.
Some did. The irony is, most of the people that he wanted to expel had already left
Yeah.
or were dead.
Killed them. Not he, but yeah,
Not-
the
he
regime.
personally probably killed a few as well. Now, how do we get the numbers to wrap up the genocide period? How do we get the numbers? The last Ottoman census was about 10 years earlier, around 1910, 1911, 1912, around there. And we get a rough figure
There are 300,000.
of of Christians, somewhere around the 4.5 to 5 million Christians in what we call the provinces of today's Turkey. Then we count the ones who came to Greece, which is a bit over 1 million. Then you estimate about 500,000 who made it into Russia or various lands of the East. So the French were ruling Lebanon and Syria, found refuge there, some into British Iraq. You're still left with 3 to 3.5 million people who have just vanished in that 10-year period.
Tragic.
Yeah. And you
Vanished.
don't know how they vanished or where they went or what happened.
We know a lot of them were killed.
Yes.
We have German records that they were killed. We have Turkish records that they were killed. Particularly the Armenians were slaughtered. But we still have communities in Pontus. This is a whole podcast by itself. Communities in Pontus who still speak Pontian. They call it Romeika.
It is. There's been even songs written about it.
They sing our songs.
Yeah.
We sing the same songs. We say Panagiotis,
Yeah.
Maria.
Yeah. It's
But
amazing.
it's this,
Isn't history's just, and etymology and
I
language.
can listen
just
for hours. Just that's
fascinating.
why I'm letting you do the talk.
Yeah.
Do the talk.
What happened to their houses? What happened to their schools, their churches,
taken
their
over.
monasteries?
Taken over.
Churches.
And more importantly, their cows, their sheep, Khorafia, their fields. This is the beginning of the modern Turkish economy. Money that was stolen.
Yeah. Let's talk about, because we
The
are
modern
running out of
period.
time, the modern period and how each of the ethnic groups have addressed and dealt
Until-
with their.
Sorry, before we go there.
Yeah.
So now we're having the catastrophe, as we say, and
1922.
1922. So what happened there? What happened? So Kemal said, all non-Muslims, they need to get
leave.
out of Turkey.
Yep.
And tell us about a bit that specific period there.
This was just an order. Literally goodbye. Literally go.
And if they don't,
The only real numbers left were a few by October when he said it, Smyrna had been evacuated. Were in Anatoliki Thraki,
otherwise,
between the Evros River and Konstantinople.
so if you don't leave, we're going to kill you.
We're going to start again.
Okay.
But that was the implication. He didn't say it, but that was implied. Venizelos signed the
Agreement.
exchange of
People,
populations.
population exchange, yeah.
Which,
I say-
sorry, under your opinion, that move as the agreement was a good?
He had no choice.
He had no choice.
He had no choice. Two reasons. One, I mentioned before, it was about a bit over 1 million, 1.3 roughly, because people who came across were not just Greeks. There were Armenians, there were anti-Kemal Muslims.
Oh, also.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Some came back and settled in Yanina. Most of the people who were considered exchangeable, and that's a disgusting term, but that's what they used. The documents actually used that word, were already in Greece.
Yes.
The largest group left were Anatoliki Thraki, and they were gone by Christmas. They'd crossed the Evros River by Christmas. And if you want to see what that was like, you look at the photos of George Devantra Law that I published last year. And he looks at the actual stages of the evacuation of Anatoliki Thraki.
Yeah.
Most of the people he dealt with Thrakiotis. He's famous amongst Pontians, but most of the people he dealt with Thrakiotis. And to counterbalance, Muslims from Macedonia especially and mainland Greece were sent east.
Okay.
Now, what's the problem? Most of those people were not Turks. Most of them spoke Greek as a first language. And this is since we're in the studio, the Muslims of Lesbos were expelled. Most of them were Muslim, but they were Greek speaking.
Yeah.
So basically, we're Greeks that forced
Yes.
to change the
to-
religion.
To preserve their
So how would
status.
they have their identity? They're Greek. They were forced to expel because they adopted a different religion. So imagine that
Forced to adopt.
Forced to adopt.
Some
But
of them
imagine-
centuries before,
Imagine,
not recent.
imagine that identity crisis. Who do I belong? Where am I? I'm not
There's
this
an
and I'm
amaz-
not that.
there's
I'm
an
not accepted
amazing
here and
ca-
I'm not accepted
There's
there.
an amazing case of the Valades. Have you heard of them? The Valades were in the Vala Valley, Imafia,
Okay.
Kozani, that Western Macedonia area. When they were told you are being kicked out because you're Muslim, they go, what? Not happening. Papa, Ella, we're reconverting. They converted back to Orthodoxy.
Reverted.
They came back to Orthodoxy rather than leave.
Yes.
Interesting.
that's what they were originally, wasn't
and
it? So
then
they
you've got,
reverted.
in a similar case, but in reverse, even today you have a town, Hamidia, on the coast of Syria, north of Lebanon.
Hamidia?
Where they speak Hamid, after
Hamidia.
Abdul Hamid,
Yeah. Okay.
where they speak Greek, but with a Cretan accent.
Really? Yeah.
They're Muslims from Crete. A lot of the people around Smyrna, all those Turkish villages, Muslim villages around Smyrna, were Muslims from Crete.
Yes. So
One of their descendants was a nasty piece of work called Bülent Ecevit. Who was Ecevit?
Ecevit.
The guy who ordered the invasion of Cyprus.
Yes.
His ancestors were from Crete.
Do you believe ethnicity should be defined by religion?
It's definitely part of it. There's no problem.
And then there's a lot of people that say to be Greek, you've got to be Greek Orthodox. That's why I'm saying ethnicity shouldn't be conflated with religion.
Ultimately, it's a personal choice.
And it's a big component of
Cultural component.
culture. Yes.
In the time of the genocide, they used religion as the definition of who is to be saved and who is not. We have, as I said, mentioned before, we have Greek-speaking villages, Romaica, Pontian-speaking villages in Pontus today. They're Muslim names, live as Turks. They dance our dances, they eat our food, they dress very similar to our people, but they're Muslim. Similar with the Armenians. You have Armenian-speaking villages, far fewer, but there are, and they're Muslim.
Let's go to the modern
Let's go to modern.
modern era after whatever happens.
The beginning of genocide activism, and this is where I've got to make a shout out to my friend Dr Themistoklis in Melbourne for his new book just a few weeks ago about genocide activism in Australia. And it really starts with the 50th anniversary of the Armenian genocide in 1965. That's really when things start in terms of agitating activism for recognition. It's no coincidence it's 65. I was born in the 70s, but those who have studied the 60s or lived the 60s were a time of massive change in society, especially in the West, okay? The Holocaust ends in 1945, but Israel doesn't really start talking about Israeli society, Jewish society, doesn't start talking about the Holocaust really until 1961. Why am I so specific? The Eichmann trial.
Which trial?
They arrested in Argentina a guy called Adolf Eichmann.
from SS.
He was in the SS. He was like Talat Pasha for the Armenians and the Greeks and the Assyrians. He's the one who organized the trains to Auschwitz and other death camps. He's the one who organized the Holocaust. Personally, didn't kill a single person.
He was the
organized the
coordinator.
deaths. He coordinated the deaths of millions. So he was taken back to Jerusalem, put on trial, obviously found guilty, executed, cremated, etc. But that trial opened up in Israeli society conversations about, okay, how do we remember the Shoah? Shoah is the Hebrew word for Holocaustoma,
No.
Holocaust. I think I've got to investigate a bit more, but I don't think it's a coincidence that just a few years later, the Armenians start the same conversation. The memory is always there, but it's only in closed doors. It's only the
Why is that?
Papudas. It's only the Yayadas who talk about it,
The ones that lived it.
the ones who lived it. In the 60s is when they start, the younger ones start agitating for recognition, for formal memory.
Can we touch on recognition?
In the Greek case, we don't start until the 80s because we're smart, we're Greek. Okay, we have World War II. So what do we do straight after World War II? We have a civil war. So we have to deal with the trauma of the genocide, then the Metaxas regime, then World War II and the occupation, then the Civil
Civil War.
War. So the trauma of the genocide gets shoved right under
at
the
the
carpet.
end. Yeah.
And not just individuals, but as a society.
Too much struggle.
So much.
Too
And
much
then-
tragedy.
Wait. Then we've got the junta
The Hunda after that. Exactly.
because we're Greek. We love
want-
tragedy. We
yeah.
invented it.
And we move on from it.
And how do we deal with the junta? We have the invasion of Cyprus.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which contributed to the invasion of Cyprus and Turkey
So,
taking it over.
absolutely. So it's not until the 1980s when led by the late now EP3, he's the one who first starts writing in the newspapers and agitating in the then PASOK government in Greece, recognition of the genocide of the Pontians, because he was Pontian. Who did he write his first open letter to in English? In 1985, the UN. Didn't bother with the Greek state, didn't bother with Europe, straight to the UN. He saw in 85, 50 years ago, the vision that international is the way to go. So I'll go back to the Jewish case. It's called Holocaust, yes? Where did that come from? Where did that name come from? From a Hollywood movie.
Really?
1978, I think it was.
Really?
You look further back, that word barely exists.
And what was the movie?
Holocaust.
Holocaust.
It was about the experience of Jews in the Holocaust.
Yeah.
But it's popular culture that coined that word,
Yeah.
and it's now
Yeah.
become universal. Holocaust with a capital H means
By the meantime, what the Armenian society had achieved and the Assyrian when it comes to genocide, was no recognition till
if we don't do it, nobody's going to do it for us.
Look,
no. Our
This
genocide.
is something the Armenians understood.
the Armenians
They learnt it.
did more than we did.
The Armenians understood if we don't agitate, nobody's going to do it for us.
Do you
So
want
they
it?
start
Where do you want it
agitating.
recognised? Where do
So-
we want it recognised?
Some people are obsessed with political recognition. So motions through parliaments, that has its place. In Australia, we've achieved recognition motions in 3 states for all 3 genocides. That's it. Keep that in mind,
Yes.
because the 3 genocides happened at different regions, but at the same time, same perpetrators, same victims.
under the
Yes.
same plan.
We had Armenian victims in Thraki. We had Greek victims in Armenia. We had Assyrian victims in Cappadocia. There's no clean lines. They're
Yeah.
everywhere.
Okay.
Academic recognition has been achieved in the Greek case for at least 20 years.
By whom?
Academic. There are no serious historians, political scientists.
You mean universal academics?
It's universal.
Universal.
There are no one seriously questions the Greek genocide anymore. It was unknown 30 years
Because you
ago.
will never get Turkey recognising it or acknowledging it. Because
Never's a long time. Never say never.
why would they?
For political reasons.
They won't. They say that it's a casualty of war. Biden recognised the Armenian, but not the Greek. And do you
Well,
put that down
we're mentioned in the speech.
do you put that down to them having a stronger lobby group than the Greek?
Not just that. Our people have only really been pushing hard for about 10, 15 years. We really haven't. Let's be honest.
You know, when I put it,
All
when I encapsulate it though, pragmatically,
Cyprus has been way more important. The genocide issue, because of all the traumas I've spoken about already, really it's now the great-grandchildren of the survivors that are starting to get involved.
can I ask you a very pragmatic question?
Yes.
This fight for recognition, at the end of the day, okay, it's recognised, but as long as we as a civilization, as an ethnic group, honour it, remember it, acknowledge it, does it really matter if others do around the world?
It matters to the survivors.
Of course.
It does,
It
but
matters to the survivors, and not about the ones just physically who survived. Because here's another idea for a podcast, transgenerational trauma.
yes,
The trauma of your papu, whether you realize it or not,
We carry
has
it
been
forward.
transmitted to you.
yeah, and that's been scientifically
Maybe
proven.
a little bit, maybe a lot.
Well,
depends on
no,
the
it
person.
has a lot.
It depends on the person.
I'm a strong believer in generational trauma.
I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist.
We should get a psychologist, Dico.
But that is definitely a topic for discussion. And again, it's the Armenians and the Jews that are
And
leading
does
the
it
world.
matter
in that.
who acknowledges it?
It matters to you personally, does it?
To me, I
Me-
acknowledge it. My grandparents lived it. I know it's there. I recognise it. We honour it here. If some remote country acknowledges it and recognises it, I don't see that as affecting me in any way. Or
Let me ask you
benefiting me.
something. Let's
Sure.
say that someone's saying that you stole something
That's different.
from a shop.
That's a different question.
Oh, hold on.
Is
Hold
it?
on.
Is it? Listen,
You know that you haven't done it. How important is to go to the court and to be officially free of?
That's the difference between vindication. That's being vindicated, what you're asking me. We're not wanting vindication. We're wanting recognition and acknowledgement. That's two different things that you've just said.
some people have moved on to compensation,
Who?
particularly some Armenian groups.
Do you think
There are
that's where
life insurance companies, for example, that have paid compensation, paid out life insurance policies a century after
Really?
that they should have been.
And
Financial
people had life
compensation.
insurance
Yeah.
policies back then?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And for a century, the excuse of the companies was there's no death certificate, so I can't issue
Valid?
a payout.
They're
It's an
obviously
It's
dead.
an excuse.
Yeah.
But they went to court, they did the legal things in America, and there are families that have received the policies of their great-grandparents.
That's going to be far and few between.
Sure, but the precedent is there. And the law, as you know very well,
Works on precedent. Exactly.
Now, for me, the real point of recognition is education.
Exactly.
If we do not study these events, as dark and as painful as they are, if we do not openly in public commemorate, then they'll just keep happening.
See, for me, that's the ultimate
And that's the
recognition.
problem.
You know what?
The education
We
is the
n-
ultimate recognition.
We need to heal.
Yes.
We haven't healed from that.
I agree completely.
How do you heal, though? If someone
By
said to you,
opening, by talking, by
Yes.
having this as part of your history, as part of your identity. That's how you heal.
but if
these
a
kind of
government
things.
recognizes it, does that make you heal?
It helps.
It's a step forward.
It's a step forward.
It's a step forward.
Absolutely. Especially when it's a government so far away from Greece, from Pontus, from Nicosia.
Let me ask you something. Why in Australia we say we pay honor to the Gadigal country and
Yep.
Yeah.
pass the...
Why?
What's the reason? That's the reason.
Why?
Yeah, but that's not done around the world. That's done amongst us in this country.
Yes. And in the 1880s, women could only vote in New Zealand. So
Yeah, but that's universal too. Women, there
it
are still.
became universal.
Yeah.
So that's the
Someone
reason.
had to make a start.
I feel education and
Absolutely.
dialogue
Absolutely.
is the way forward
Absolutely.
to eventually have recognition. But I'm talking about putting your energy into fighting for recognition or putting your energy into education. So then these people eventually.
One brings the other.
Exactly.
Because we have political recognition in New South Wales, we now have, as of next year, with the new syllabus, the new history curricula, it is compulsory to teach about the genocide in New South Wales schools.
There's a lot of things that need to be taught in
No,
New South
it
Wales
already
schools.
is.
Yeah, but apart from that, there's
All right.
history needs
But
to be
how,
retaught in schools.
but how is it taught? As part of Australia's civic action. So the mass killing, the mass murder is not the centre. What did Australians do for the survivors? That's what we're teaching. But how can you teach that without teaching, well, why was there a need for help?
Exactly.
You work backwards.
And now, just to round up and close this episode, where are we sitting now, 2026, in regards to the recognition of the genocide of the Pontian?
The biggest wins for me in the last few years have been in Tasmania in 2023.
Not only in Australia, I'm talking
For me-
about
for me
globally.
personally.
Yeah.
Big wins in Europe. This year, a very big win. Next week, 19 May. 19 May is,
The anniversary,
it is
the
coming.
recognised.
so on this day, all schools in Greece are showing a animated short film talking about what happened and why 19 May matters.
What happens
This
in
is-
Turkey on that day?
The Turkish Republic has it as the Youth and Sport Day. It's a public holiday of celebration of youth and athletics.
That's very
It's a national-
controversial.
It's a national holiday. It's
If-
not. Think about it. By having it as a public holiday of positive, they are taking away
That's what I'm...
attention
Yes.
from. It's not controversial. It's actually clever.
Yeah.
It fails.
It has controversy, like
it fails
it creates
because-
It's
a
like
contrast.
our independence of from the Ottomans. To us is a celebration. To them, it's
The
a
beginning and the end of their empire.
Exactly.
But this is why commemorations help heal. It takes time.
It does take time.
The pain is never gone. You just,
Imagine the generational pain of children that were taken from their families.
the worst cases are the ones who didn't know they were taken.
Yeah.
wow.
Anyway, let's not delve into that. That's another.
That's another.
That's a whole topic
That's a whole
altogether.
other topic.
So I think the best thing that we can do as individuals is to pass on these stories
Yes.
to our kids, to our
Yes.
grandkids,
Yes. To our friends,
to our friends,
our neighbours.
to educate them.
And that's why podcasts are important because they're about storytelling.
This evening, come to St. Catherine's in Mascot. Look on Facebook at the Pontian associations in your city, wherever you are. They are definitely doing something this week.
Can I just take
Just
this moment to
light a candle. For me, that's something I'm doing it
is,
every year.
Every year. But I just want to take a moment to congratulate the Pontian associations. They're some of the most active associations we
In
have in
Sydney, yeah.
Australia.
Yep.
In Australia. I commend them. I admire them.
I think they're active worldwide.
Yes.
That these kind of associations that
The dance. and
they
I love
βάζουν
the-
κόλλο κάτω.
Oh, yeah.
That's good. That's good.
I've done a series of I've done a study, I broke it up into pieces, about why we have Traki in Australia, we have Asian Minor people in Australia, Why are the Pontians the only ones that have really retained an identity?
What's the answer?
There are multiple answers.
Now, just give me one to close down this episode.
One to close this episode.
Yeah.
Pride.
I said that.
You said that?
I said that.
Pride. Okay.
Pride.
So we are three proud Pontians here.
Two. I'm in Piroti.
Yeah, sorry, Panagiotis, but you're more Pontian than some other real Pontians that I know.
No, we appreciate your knowledge, your
I
expertise.
appreciate the opportunity to
We
share
learn
some
so
thoughts.
much. We'll have you on again. You're a wonderful historian. Thank you for your time.
And let's not forget.
Let's not forget. No.
And we are coming back next week with another episode. Thank you,
Yes,
Panagiotis,
thank you,
very
Panagiotis.
much for your contribution.
And thank you for being with us and supporting us.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you on the next one.
This podcast brought to you by Natasha Karamiho, your trusted legal voice in Greece for all your legal matters, and Helco Consulting, trusted services for all business and investments in Greece.
I'm Christine Stavropoulos,
Και εγώ ο Νίκος Σαμίδης. Και αυτό είναι το Greek Podyssey, το podcast της Ομογένειας.
a podcast for Hellenes worldwide, sharing stories, culture, identity, laughs, and a little bit of tsugrisma along the way.
Γιατί μπορεί να φύγαμε από την Ελλάδα, αλλά η Ελλάδα δεν έφυγε ποτέ από μας.